You know that favorite shirt you have, the one that's just perfectly soft? Or those jeans with that exact right shade of blue? Well, there's a whole hidden world of science that makes that happen. It's all in the final stages of making our clothes, in a process called textile finishing. So today, let's dive into this, because it's a fascinating and really crucial part of the fashion industry. But here's the thing, the story isn't just about getting that perfect feel or color. There's another side to it, a hidden environmental cost. And that brings us to the real question, right? What does that t-shirt of yours really cost the planet? The answer might surprise you. And yeah, it all comes down to that final touch. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll unpack that hidden cost. Then we'll get into how the industry is completely redesigning that final step with a whole new sustainable toolkit. We'll even look at some amazing solutions that come straight from nature. And to wrap it all up, we'll take a peek at what's coming next for your wardrobe. Okay, first up, the hidden cost of clothes. Let's really unpack the environmental impact of how things have traditionally been done. Because for decades, finishing our textiles came with a pretty hefty price tag for the planet. So to really get a sense of the problem, you have to look at what traditional finishing actually involves. I mean, these processes are just incredibly thirsty. They use enormous amounts of water. They also need a ton of energy, a lot of it just to heat up all that water. And on top of that, they rely on some pretty harsh chemicals that end up as runoff, polluting our water and our soil. And that's not even mentioning the risks to the workers in the factories. So the bottom line is that super soft feel or that wrinkle-free finish, historically, it's been really, really demanding on our planet. But the good news is a growing awareness is driving a huge shift. The industry is now focused on redesigning that final touch, really moving towards a much more responsible and environmentally conscious way of making our fabrics. And that brings us to the hero of our story, really, sustainable finishing. You know, at its core, it's a pretty simple but really powerful idea. It's all about finding methods that dramatically cut down on water, on energy, and on those harmful chemicals. And here's the key part, without sacrificing the performance and the feel of the fabric that we all love. It's just about being smarter, cleaner, and way more efficient. So, how do they actually do this? Well, there's this amazing sustainable toolkit out there now, packed with innovative techniques that are, frankly, changing the entire industry. One of the star players is enzyme finishing. Instead of flooding fabric with harsh chemicals, this method uses biological catalysts, enzymes, to do the heavy lifting. You can almost think of them as these tiny, super efficient biological workers. So for example, they can be used for something called biopolishing, which makes a fabric feel way smoother. Or they can give denim that classic faded look, but without that super intense chemical wash. And because enzymes work in milder conditions, they use way less energy and create a whole lot less pollution. It's just a brilliant biological solution. All right, another game changer is foam finishing. This one is all about saving water. So instead of dunking fabric into a giant tub of water and chemicals, you mix the chemicals into this concentrated foam, kind of like shaving cream. Then that foam gets applied evenly right onto the fabric's surface. The result? Well, it's pretty remarkable. Since you're using foam instead of a huge bath of liquid, you need just a tiny fraction of the water. And less water means way, way less energy needed for heating and drying. It's a huge win. And the toolkit just keeps going. There are all these other tools for efficiency. You've got things like low liquor ratio processing, which is basically just machines that need less water to begin with. There are spray application techniques for super precise finishing, and low temperature processing to save energy. You can even add in things like heat recovery systems and these awesome closed-loop systems that recycle both water and chemicals. It's like a full-on attack on waste from every angle. But you know, some of the most exciting innovations aren't actually new at all. They come from looking back, looking to nature, and tapping into traditional knowledge that's been around for centuries. And this is especially true in a place like India. This is where ancient wisdom really does meet modern science. Instead of trying to cook up new synthetic chemicals in a lab, researchers are looking at powerful botanical solutions, things from plants that are not only effective, but also completely biodegradable. And what's so cool about this is that the sources for these solutions are things we all know. Take neem, for instance. It's been known in India for centuries for its amazing antibacterial and antifungal properties. Well, now that traditional knowledge is being used to create natural finishes for stuff like activewear or even medical textiles. Or how about aloe vera? We all know how great it is for soothing skin. Well, that makes it absolutely perfect for fabrics that are right up against your skin, like bedding or intimate apparel. It's a perfect example of swapping out synthetic chemicals for alternatives that are safe, effective, and totally natural. So that's what's happening now. But what's next for your wardrobe? This is where things start to get really futuristic, almost like something out of a sci-fi movie. Okay, get ready for this. Finishing fabric with plasma. Yep, you heard that right. The fourth state of matter. What this technology does basically is use an energized gas to change the fabric's surface on a microscopic level. So you can do things like make it more water repellent or make it better at holding on to dye. And the best part? It's a completely dry process. No water, no chemicals. It's just pure physics making the material better. And hey, for all you denim lovers out there, check this out. Ozone technology. We can now use ozone gas to bleach and treat denim to create those cool, worn-in looks that everybody wants. And this process just dramatically cuts down on the insane amounts of water and chemicals that are normally used for denim. So, your favorite pair of jeans? They can be a whole lot greener now. So when you look at all of these different techniques, from enzymes and foam to plasma and ozone, they all share one common goal. And this quote sums it up perfectly. These innovations ensure that performance is achieved without compromising environmental safety. It means we get the high-performance clothes we want, just without that devastating cost to the planet. And all of this brings us to one final, really important question for you. Now that you know a little more about what goes into that final touch on your clothes, the next time you go shopping, what are you going to be looking for on the label? Because the power to support a cleaner, smarter industry, well, it's quite literally in our hands.